Hi, and welcome to another episode of Conversation with a Chef. I'm Jo Ritty, and I love sharing with you the conversations I get to have with talented and passionate chefs. It's the backstory, if you will, to the food they're putting up. I begin today by acknowledging the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, traditional custodians of the unceded land where this conversation takes place, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. When I sat down with Michael Conlon at O'Connell's in South Melbourne, the paint was still fresh. There's been a substantial refresh, new carpet, new upholstery, commissioned artworks, and a dining room that feels intentionally set apart. More like a restaurant you arrive at even though you've come through the pub. But the biggest shift is in how he talks about the role of a pub like this. It's not just somewhere to eat, but somewhere that has to work at different speeds. A quick midweek pint and something more considered on the weekend, all under the same roof. Michael comes from a group that understands pubs from the ground up. He's worked across venues like Hobson's Bay Hotel and the Flying Duck, places with their own histories. So stepping into O'Connell's isn't about wiping the slate clean, it's about reading the room and the neighbourhood properly. We talked about growing up on the Gold Coast, baking with his dad, cooking over fire, and the shift from being a good chef to becoming a good leader. Hi Michael, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
It's really nice to talk to you. We're sitting in the dining room of O'Connell's in South Melbourne. This building's been here for a long time. Do you know how old it is?
Yeah, we're coming up to 150, celebrating
Wow.
150 years.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Really cool, yeah.
I really like thinking about, well, not the ghosts of venues, but who's been here before. And I always think if the walls could talk, there'd be so many stories.
Totally.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's a really long time. I think some businesses kind of struggle with that almost. I think the ghosts of a previous past is a really good way to frame it. You know, sometimes there are operators that come in and kind of fumble the bag a little bit, and the next business that comes in has to recover.
Yeah.
You know, so you can really lose really cool establishments just from that. Yeah.
And I think pubs in Australia certainly have that aspect of being part of a community, and so people have certain expectations. So you're renovating O'Connell's now, and getting it all ready to open. What things do you have to take into consideration when you move into a neighbourhood?
Yeah, you've got to take a lot into consideration, I think. I think it's, as you sort of said, you know, pubs are a cornerstone, really, of the places that they're situated, and sort of representing them in the right way. I think they have to have a little level of both. I think Melbourne is in a different position to most other parts of Australia, where we can kind of have those different levels of dining in those cornerstone pubs. You know, so that's a big part of it, making sure that people can come here during the week, you know, get a quick feed, get a pint, and get out of here. But then also can come back on the weekend and sort of sit in this beautiful dining room and have an elevated experience and just be able to walk home. It's really cool. You know.
And you're part of a group that knows a lot about running good hotels and pubs.
Thank you. They're nice words. Yeah.
And how many venues have you worked in?
Yeah. So we originally had Hobson's Bay Hotel, which was great. The 3-level dining, which was had a lot of complications. Beautiful rooftop scape. And then more recently we have the Flying Duck Hotel, which is great. You know, cheerful backyard boozer, as they kind of like to call it. Leafy green backyard area. Good for good times. So yeah, I'm very, very proud of that business. You know, when you talk about places that have had ghosts before, you know, I'm sure that was one of them. It's had a lot of different owners through there, and to really revitalise that pub, to sort of go along with the other great pubs in that area. Yeah. You know, the Erica, the Orong, the Paran Hotel. So all those pubs in that area it's such a great melting pot of competition over there. So for that to stand up and really do well, I'm so proud of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great pub. I went to quite a few events, and I think I went to the opening or the relaunch of it, and it certainly felt like a back garden. Actually, It was very leafy.
Yeah, everyone's got a story about the duck. I don't think I'd really heard of it before we took over, and then all of a sudden it was every single person would be like, "Oh, I've got this story about the duck. I got there and did this," and so it was really, really cool. Yeah.
And you mentioned revitalising, and I can smell fresh paint. So what's happening here? What have you done to zhuzh?
Yeah, quite substantial. So opened up the Centenary Room, opened up all the sort of main bar area, so it all kind of flows and connects. I think a problem with big pubs like this, they can kind of be tacked on and a bit pokey. So I think opening those spaces up just brings that dining into one central space. And it's sort of the opposite of that, really. I mean, new carpet, new upholstery all throughout the venue, but then making this dining room feel different. making it feel like it's a step up. Like literally, you have to walk up the ramp to come in here. Fluted glass surrounds the exterior, so you kind of feel like you're walking into a restaurant, but you just come through the pub, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a lovely room. Are these your artworks now that are hung?
We had these commissioned, yeah.
They're really beautiful.
Yeah,
They're so Australian, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like really great landscape.
Yeah, and that's kind of the idea with the menu. It's sort of it should feel like outback Australiana sort of vibe, and it doesn't have to necessarily be like these outback scapes, but also that land to sea connection, which I think is so strong for the east coast of Australia.
That was a great segue. Tell me about the menu.
It was a good segue. I think I grew up on the Gold Coast. I've come from a background next to the beach and growing up there as a young boy and surfing, and I worked at a restaurant. It's not there anymore, but it was literally on Burleigh Beach. And I remember we used to store our surfboards underneath. So it'd hit 3 o'clock, service would be over, and then we'd be out surfing. So I've always had a strong connection with the water, and then I started to work further along in my career, and I started to cook over open fire and started to learn a little bit more about that. So definitely, as you can see, the Josper in the background here, big part of the menu here. So focused around Australian themes, great quality steaks, good Australian Wagyu, and that connection with suppliers that we always try to do really well in Melbourne. Having that really strong supplier connection is sort of the cornerstone of all the food here. Yeah.
Okay. And so will the menu be different in the dining room as opposed to the pub, the bar?
No, I've always had a really staunch idea that I never liked that. I want to be able to, if I want to eat a big steak out on the on the terrace or in the main bar, I want to do that. I don't want to feel like I'm restricted.
Yeah.
It was always I've always struggled with that. Why can't I get the steak here?
True.
Yeah.
But is there a pressure to have things like parmas and fish and chips still?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think. I wouldn't say a pressure, no. I don't think that's a pressure for me at all. I think sometimes as a chef, you kind of have these delineation lines that you can't go past, these imaginary lines that we set for ourselves, and I have no problem with that. If I was making kebabs on Bell Street out of a little truck, I'd make the bread myself, I'd cut the cucumbers fresh every day, I'd skewer the short, I'd do all the stuff. That doesn't change for me. Here it's the bash the schnitzels, I crumb the schnitzels, I make the chips. There's still that really strong connection with being a chef that I think people can lose when you talk about, you're going to get a parma on the menu. Well, we can do it really good.
That's true.
Still do it really nice.
I shouldn't have said it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's right.
No, you're right. There is a stigma almost.
Yeah, that's right. But it is a neighbourhood pub, and there's people that want that, and then there's the other people that want to come and have the big steak. And,
totally. And that's all part of it. I'm trying really hard to get a dry aging program started as well, so we can do dry aging steaks out the back.
Oh,
there's a lot of little ideas that I've got that can really come together, and that's the best part about a neighbourhood pub. I can have that real connection with people on the front lines and meeting them at the door, and even when we're setting up here, people are walking past every day, poking their heads in, being really. It's been really, really cool. That part of it as well is just a genuine connection with the people that are around you.
Yeah. And so, is it a big menu?
I wouldn't say it's a huge menu. No, I wouldn't say it's particularly large or particularly small. I think it's the kitchen that we have here is incredible. The generations of great chefs that have worked here.
That's true.
Have really done a good job of keeping the pieces together and accumulating a lot of cool stuff. So it's a massive kitchen. I think that we can execute really high level food for a good size amount of people that come through the door. Yeah.
So is there a possibility of doing a few courses for people if they want to come here and sit for a long time? Can they work their way through the menu? Is that? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. I'd love to sort of do like a tasting menu and do some initiatives like that for sure.
Yeah.
But I think the menu is made to, as most menus are, it's made to be shared. It's made to be enjoyed with other people. It's not, we don't have that stuffy sit down one plate anymore, especially with starters. I think that's like gone. Some stars on the menu, beautiful scarlet prawns cooked in the Josper, served with sort of macadamia butter and all sorts of, grilled seafood, Moreton Bay bugs. I love Moreton Bay bugs. They'll be in the Josper as well. Really, really cool. I make like this. Do you know Old Bay seasoning? You've heard of Old Bay? No?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You serve it with like fish and chicken.
Yes.
Yeah. I opened probably 10, 15 years ago. I helped them open a crab restaurant. Yeah, and I discovered like Old Bay, and we served it in the bag. It would never work anymore, but you used to serve it in the bag with the clarified butter. So we make this like Old Bay seasoning style with like Outback wattle seed and bush tomato and all sorts of things. So that kind of gets lacquered over the bugs as they're getting roasted in the Josper. So yeah, it's really cool.
That sounds delicious. Is it, because you have things like steak and parma and the prawns and stuff. Is it? Will you be changing the menu seasonally?
Yeah, I'd say so, definitely.
Maybe just elements of it.
I don't ever like to overhaul an entire menu. I think if you strip it all back, you kind of lose what makes it good. So you kind of have to have those pillars that we can play around with, like, garnishes on a burrata or, a raw seafood dish that kind of changes. And I like to change the menu like that seasonally, whereas like a burrata, you can get a really stunning burrata in Melbourne, especially like year round. So let's make that really good, and then let's change the garnish. In summer it becomes tomatoes. Maybe in winter we can go to a pickled mushroom and something like that. Yeah,
that's exciting. And what about the wine program? Is that and beer? Is wine a big thing here at O'Connell's?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think. We have a beautiful cellar sort of sitting behind you there. That's full of wines. Temperature controlled cellar. That's full of
dream.
Great wines. Yeah. Wouldn't mind one in my house.
Yeah.
That's full of great wines. And then the guys, they work pretty closely with some suppliers to get some Australian stuff. I think definitely when I set up the Duck, I noticed that we put a lot of international wines and a lot of European wines in there straight away. And they kind of, like, we're very hit and miss. I think Australians, especially Victorians, love drinking Australian wine. And I think that's sort of our go-to, our week to week or day to day during the week, which is really, really cool. So I always want to support, Australian grown vineyards and winemakers, because they're the ones that can tell us the stories. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's right. And I always love it if there is a story behind produce or a wine or even a beer, like a brewery or something as well.
Yeah.
So what do you have on tap here?
Yeah, so on tap, draft. Everyone's got to have draft. Great Northern, Bolter, all the sort of big ones, Stone and Wood, Guinness.
Yeah.
But then there's an independent brand that I love, Bonehead Brewery. They're in Kensington.
Oh, nice.
So those guys make some great beers.
Yeah.
I used to live just around the corner from them. So I called them up and I was like, do you guys put things in kegs? Do you put beer in kegs? And they're like, yes, let's give you some kegs. So
that's cool.
Yeah, really, really cool. It's great to work with people like that. They were sort of surprised that I was calling. They were like, you want to get, stock in the pub. So that's really cool too, when you can make those relationships and build off that with someone else that maybe wasn't expecting it. Yeah.
And when you're opening a new place, do you already have some staff you bring from older venues, or is it a completely new team?
Yeah, it's tough because what makes the old venue or the one that's currently running good might be a couple of those valuable team members that we take. So it's sort of a juggling act. We realistically we prepare for it 12 months in advance. We're like, who can we take? What's that going to look like? Getting those people that are already in there, thinking about rolling up into positions where they can do more and contribute more to the business, and then slowly getting those other members that can maybe go somewhere else. Here we have hired a new venue manager. He's come across as fantastic. An Irishman, ironically, in an Irish pub. I interviewed him on St. Patrick's Day. So it was the Holy Trinity, right? But those guys, they're all so great. I brought a couple of chefs over from the Duck who've actually been working with me for probably 6 years.
Oh, that's nice.
Which is great. Yeah, it's good to see those guys progress and get better and sort of gain momentum in their own steam. So they're parts of the job that are really fun. It's sort of like organising the team and then watching everyone succeed, or some of the difficulties they might have. Sort of getting past those things, that's one of the better parts of running the business and being part of it, definitely.
And I've been talking a lot lately about the front of house and back of house, and how, I think a lot of places now, there's no longer a divide, which is great. When I was working in front of house, there was a definite divide between kitchen and front of house. How do you, what are some strategies you have for bringing the team together and getting that sense of cohesion and support for one another? Yeah,
I think when I was working at the Duck, because I was the head chef there for a period of time, and eventually I sort of looked at myself and looked at the business, and I was like, I actually kind of want to do more. I kind of want to understand it a bit more in depth. So I actually stood back from the kitchen and I did like a lot of events coordinating. I did some Wesset wine training, and I worked in the front of house. So I sort of diversified myself from there. So I've always been someone that kind of leads by example and does those things. So I think the guys, especially within the team, that have seen that progression in me, they appreciate it even more, because now I kind of have no excuses, because I've seen it on the other side, quite literally with them side by side. So I think those types of examples are really, really cool.
Yeah.
For the team, just to see you be a different person, The guys in the kitchen, there'll be people that start, there'll be new chefs that start, and everyone calls me chef. But the new person will be like, why is he calling that guy who works in the front of house? It doesn't really click for them, and then they understand that, yeah, that's where I was before. So, diversifying yourself as an individual, I think, is really, really important in hospitality. And I think all chefs, a little bit, would like to try, being a waiter.
That's right.
A little bit, we are. Some people are. They just want to hang in the back. But it is a lot of fun putting on that little face, that little mask.
Yeah, that's right.
Going out and doing a little play. Yeah.
And then it's good to know the stories from the chef and to really know the dishes, isn't it? To be able to, if the chefs aren't coming out from behind the pass to talk to the diners, then it's great if the front of house they feel really confident in the dishes and so on.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all, pardon me, like you said, it has really progressed.
Yeah.
In the last few years, it's gained momentum, and it's great to see chefs. I went to Bray a couple of weeks ago when they did the pop-up with Les Doyens. And man, those guys, they're just so good.
Yeah.
And Dan comes out and he does he does some service as well. It's so good to see like that level of dining. It's very, very inspiring.
Yeah, that's right. And Michael, you mentioned, surfing and where you grew up. But what made you decide to be a chef?
I think from an early age, I used to love baking. I was introduced to baking pretty early. So I remember I'd go to high school, and on the weekend I would bake like 30 cookies, and I'd wrap them all up and give them out to people, and I used to, see the enjoyment, I guess, that I got out of people.
Yeah.
That was pretty genuine, I guess. So yeah, I've always been someone that liked to do that and gain momentum baking. I used to bake with my dad. He was dyslexic. So he would read me, or try to read me, these cooking books. So yeah, that was a great bonding moment, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what got me started. And then I think it was sort of that boom of cooking really taking over, and it being on TVs in households. And I sort of jumped on that, and one thing led to another, and I just kept going and going. Yeah.
And what is it that it's quite different stepping into a kitchen, especially at the bottom, as opposed to baking for your classmates. What did you love about the kitchen and the atmosphere of the kitchen?
I feel like I grew up in the kitchen in a lot of ways. Like I definitely don't think I was a very reserved person. I was very, very quiet. So it took me a long time to sort of come out of that shell and feel like really confident. And that's really what it was. It's being that little bit of imposter syndrome, I think. And once I got that confidence that I was a good chef, I was a good cook, then it was actually becoming a good leader, and that really coming out of me, which was kind of the flip, the switch that flipped within me that kind of changed everything. But I still love cooking, I still really, really enjoy it. And I just love thinking about food sometimes and thinking about different ways that things go together, and the practicality of it when you then apply that into a kitchen is the next level of it. Making it all work on that second level is what's important.
Where do you get inspiration? Have you got lots of cookbooks, or do you look online?
Yeah, I do have lots of cookbooks. I do have a lot of cookbooks. I have like some really old niche cookbooks as well. Like I have like a LaRousse from like 1969 and things like that, which is really cool. I just got the Noma book last night. That came in the mail yesterday, the new one.
Wow.
So I'm excited to jump into that one. But yeah, I like to stay 1 foot on trend and sort of 1 foot, with the oldies and with those old style cookbooks. I've got a whole stack of Keith Floyd cookbooks, which are like treasures to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And then when you're looking through them, what is it that appeals to you? What sort of jumps out and you think, I want to do that? Or do you sort of build on things you've seen? What?
I think the regions is what I take out of it the most. I think like French cooking is great because there's there's a real pattern of technique there. And then it's overlaying some of those patterns into what we have here. And when aching back to what we just said, that those locals, the people that are very close to here, the producers, and working with them, I think once you overlay some of those techniques from those recipe books, I think that's where it all kind of makes sense for me. Yeah.
It's amazing. Do you take notes, or what do you...
I'm terrible. I've never kept a notebook, a cookbook. And I religiously tell everyone to keep one, right? Yeah. But I've always struggled. One of my best friends, he was cooking with me throughout most of my career. He was religious. He's got 6, all alphabetized, with all the recipes that we have. And I would literally text him, can you give me that recipe that we used to use for that one thing? Because I've forgotten it. Yeah. But 90% of the things that I cook, even when we're working in the kitchen now, I'm not the guy's like, is there a recipe for this? I'm like, nope, no, we're going to make a recipe now. This is the thing that I've thought of, and let's make this recipe for it now. It's not like I'm pulling one out of 6 or 7 years ago and I'm going, let's rehash this or let's do that. It's more of a process. I know the process I want to do, and I'm going to make the recipe from there.
Yeah, wow. And I guess that ties in a little bit to you mentioning discovering your leadership style. It sounds like you're probably someone that gets alongside your team and shows rather than tells. Is that right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think that's the best way to, you build trust. Because it's not easy working in a kitchen. When someone's shouting at you, it's 50 degrees, and you have to do this thing, it can get really hard, and you have to build that trust with people that they will listen to you in the kitchen and they'll follow exactly what you're saying. Because sometimes it is that important. It's as important as every word that I say, just you've got to listen to and follow. So I think being next to the guys and having those same struggles as them is really, really important.
Because the other aspect of stepping up into a head chef role or executive chef or or beyond is the money side of things or the business side of things. How easy was that for you to, because I feel like you train to be a chef and you get maybe you get a bit of an inkling of it when you're a sous chef, but suddenly when you're a head chef, you've got to think about food costs. Yeah. And so creativity is one thing, but you've got all those constraints.
Yeah, totally.
How did that work for you? When did you...
Yeah, I think I'm really, really lucky. I have great support with my business partner, Brenton, and he's gone through a lot of those issues before. Yeah. So having that person in my corner, that was also come from, he was a baker, so also sort of had that experience, was great for me. Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't say it came naturally, but I don't, at the same token, I don't think it was too hard to get a hold of. But it did help that I had that moment of stepping away from the kitchen, and kind of being able to regroup and go, okay, let's add some other knives to the kit, and let's figure out what other things I can use in my arsenal in the kitchen to make myself better. Yeah. Yeah.
And will you be spread amongst venues, or will you mainly be here?
No, for the time being, I just want to be here.
Yeah.
I just really, really want to be here. Yeah, I really just want to get off the ground and for everyone to come and enjoy it and, see everyone's beautiful faces and everyone coming through. So yeah, all my effort is just put here, which is great. I mean, the team at the Duck, they know what they're doing. They're great at what they do. So yeah, I've got a lot of faith, and it makes my job a lot easier to be able to step away because I've got those people supporting me.
Yeah, It's amazing. I was going to say, what are you most looking forward to with opening? But it sounds like you just want to see everyone here.
Yeah, honestly, like friends and family, like seeing everyone come through. Yeah. Being in the thick of it, heaps of dockets deep and being in the weeds is a lot of fun too. So just getting busy and getting into it. The builders have done such a great job here. We just have to keep carrying it through and everyone do their job and we'll do really well.
I can't wait. It's only a short cycle ride from where I live, so it's going to be...
That's good.
Come back here and
you can leave your bike upstairs if you get a few too many drinks.
Yeah, nice. Let's project that, yeah. Just to finish with Michael, I usually end with this question, is what would your advice be to a young person starting out as a chef?
Yeah, I think keep your head down. Keep trying. It's every day is kind of feels like the same. But eventually, once you get to the end of it, it really opens up and cooking gets to a point where you really start to enjoy it. And that's the best part of it. Yeah.
Thank you. So great.
Cheers.
Thank Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Conversation with a Chef with Michael Conlon at O'Connell's Hotel in South Melbourne. You can check out all the goodness on Instagram at O'Connell's_hotel. O'Connell's is OCONNELLS_hotel. And if you'd like to hear more stories from other chefs, I'm also on Instagram at Conversation with a Chef. You can read this chat online at www.conversationwithachef.com, and of course you can follow me on Apple and Spotify podcasts. I would absolutely love it if you told a friend about my chats. I still think it's the best way to get these delicious stories out into the world. Once again, thanks so much for listening. Have a great day and bon appétit.